Welcome back, everyone. Some major proposed rule changes are reportedly on their way in the soccer world. According to a report by the UK Telegraph, soccer referees could soon have blue cards to issue for cynical fouls and dissent, as well as sin bins to send misbehaving players. And who better to bring in to talk about these officiating proposals other than our own Christina Unkel. Thank you so much, Christina, first of all, for joining us. Very fitting background for the topic of conversation today. Literally in front of a blue card. People are very divided about this. We kind of talked about it a little bit off camera. Just before we dive in, can you just break down what the blue card entails and tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, and thank you, because I am surprised at how much anger there is towards this blue card that I have seen already from the football community. And first and foremost, it's defining what the purpose of this blue card is. And once you understand why there's going to be a blue card, I think everyone is conceptually going to be able to understand it, right? The blue card is going to be given for those types of fouls we have already defined and have historically been defined for the past 3 years in the laws of the game are cynical fouls as well as dissent. A cynical foul is essentially a holding foul where someone has broken free, they're into a promising attack, and that defender or that player just literally takes their arm, grabs them, and pulls either their arm or their shirt, only to disrupt that promising attack. So that's the definition at this point of what a cynical foul is. Those plays that are not soccer plays, but are only done where sometimes they're coined in the United States as tactical fouls, as a professional foul. They have nothing to do with playing the ball. So please understand that's what a cynical foul is. And then the second one is dissent, right? The ones that are borderline where they're beyond a yellow card, but yeah, they're not quite yet a red card. So when we understand what the blue card is going to be for, you have to take a look at it. It's going to be in between essentially a yellow card and a red card. Historically, sometimes we call those orange cards, but that's when we talk about fouls in the sense of challenges, when it's either maybe a challenge with your feet or studs up between serious foul play and a reckless tackle. Here, this is more for only in the purposes of what it's capturing are those types of cautionable offenses that are not football plays in and of themselves. They take away from the beauty of the game. We all know when that player breaks free and they go to the right and you have a promising attack, when that hold happens, it just disrupts the game. It disrupts the beautiful flow of the game. And there's not enough yet to punish it. So by issuing these blue cards, it is essentially telling them this is not a football play. This is, in fact, just a disruption of the game that is not a football challenge or a normal football kind of a tactic. And therefore, that's why there's the addition of the 10 minutes of a quote unquote sin bin, where someone would stand off because someone holding and disrupting a promising attack that could result in end the game. A yellow card is a foul that people are willing to take, and we could see it in the Major League Soccer. This has been a point of emphasis to try to eliminate these types of holding offenses by making them cautionary offenses. This is what's going to elevate it and make it into a blue card. So please don't think this is something that's out of the unordinary. If anything, it's helping to balance the injustice.
A quick question. Would blue cards fall under VAR rulings? Like, will a blue card be able to be challenged by the VAR booth?
Aaron, I love it because you've asked a deeper question than what I've been being asked recently. And because at the moment it has not yet been fully implemented, right? These are merely trials that are going to be happening now at the full professional level in certain instances. They do not yet fall under the VAR protocol. It has not yet been designated that they will fall under the VAR protocol. And the likelihood of them falling under the VAR protocol is most likely not. The reason why is because yellow cards don't fall under the VAR protocol. So think of this as an elevated yellow card, not yet a red card. And because it really only falls into two different instances, right? Once again, those types of fouls that where it's holding someone's shirt or arm that has nothing to do with playing the game, those are very clear and very obvious to see. And the second is dissent, right? Doesn't yet rise to the level of abusive and foul language. So VAR most likely will not be, the blue card will most likely not be included in the VAR protocol.
Christina, sorry I'm dominating the questions right now, but what does the player who is sent off for 10 minutes do? Do they have to stand on the sideline? Do they get to go ride a bike to stay active? Because it seems to me that this is an added injury risk to be static for 10 minutes, to be out of the flow of the game and then have to be thrown right back into it in an intense environment after having sat for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and the sin bins have already been trialed at some youth competitions already, and those are one of the considerations they're taking into it while they are trialing this, right? Is does that in fact increase the level of potential injury while you stand out for 10 minutes? And so currently, right now, how they have it is there is a designated area closer to the fourth official is where the quote unquote sin bin is. So, for Americans, we're very familiar with the hockey, and I know that people are going to cringe if we're taking an American sport and kind of implementing it slightly, but it's kind of one of those containment areas where that individual will be in. I think that is a valid question as to whether or not those 10 minutes will essentially, cool down somebody. That's something that also needs to be examined, and that's not something that has not yet been overlooked. It's something they are taking a look at to see if whether any kind of statistical data would show that if someone who is reintroduced to the game after 10 minutes, if they have a higher likelihood of being injured, that can be statistically proven as opposed to just maybe a conjecture. But it is 10 minutes, and the idea here is to essentially eliminate these kinds of fouls where you're holding on to people that have nothing, that are professional or tactical in nature. So eventually we hope to see and eliminate these kinds of fouls so we don't have many people sitting out for 10 minutes. Nobody likes a power play, or at least if it's your team, you love a power play, but the other team never loves a power play.
I also cover hockey, so I'm loving all of these hockey references separately. But okay, so you said it's being tested already, a little bit kind of rolled out at the youth level. So I'm curious what the feedback has been from maybe referees and players at that level so far. And then just on top of that as well, for you, I know you said that it's a very specific type of foul that you're looking for, and it's one that you guys have seen already. But are there any challenges just for you from the referee perspective of it to kind of rolling this out and getting familiarized with what it is exactly that you guys are looking for at the highest level, where obviously the stakes are very high?
Yeah, those fouls where you are holding and pulling somebody who have already beat you, right? And you're basically just breaking and stopping a promising attack is essentially how we define it, by holding offense. Those are very easy for us to see. So that's not an issue. Those are things we've identified prior to, and it's why it has that title to it. And it sounds more horrific than not. But the one that's going to be a little bit more that people are kind of upset about is the subjectivity, is the dissent towards the official. What yet rises to the level of dissent that you're going to be receiving a blue card and sitting out for 10 minutes? I think that one exposes us a little bit more, but it also empowers us. There are times that we get verbal dissent where it's above and beyond, but we're the only ones who hear it, or it's maybe not enough yet for a red card, but it's not appropriate. So that just allows us and gives us more control to be able to send them to the sin bin.
Well, these sin bin, so first of all, actually, let's move back. Obviously it's being trialed right now. What constitutes a success for the blue card? How are they evaluating these metrics for the blue card being instituted? What are they judging it by?
They're judging it by less. So right now, statistically, and FIFA has plenty of research studies, numbers, statistics to show the number of yellow cards, and all of this is tracked metric-wise, that are cards that are issued for dissent, and then cards that are issued for these types of challenges, the holding, the tactical, the professional foul, right? Why they get to that level of that designation. They have those statistics, they have those numbers. So what is the definition of a success in a blue card in these trials? Is to see a decrease and a significant elimination of both of these types of incidents. If they see these as starting to be eliminated from the game, that is what would define success for a blue card, and why they would eventually take that next step of fully implementing it. So it joins its friends over here in yellow and red card world.
How do you think that this will be? I know we kind of started this segment by saying that the feedback so far in general has been divided, and I think even when we started the show, we were a little skeptical as to just adding another card and another kind of, whether it delays the game or how it impacts the game. What have you noticed so far from just how it's been received globally and how people are kind of thinking this might go forward? Because I know when VAR was first introduced, there were mixed opinions on that as well, and that kind of took some getting used to.
I would say there's still some mixed opinions on that, because I feel it every weekend because of VAR. There will continue to be mixed opinions, right? Where we are at with the game is there's many, I call it romantics at heart, right? We love the natural game. We love the flow. We wanted to keep it normal, but media, TV, the high stakeholders demanded VAR to correct, game deciding decisions, or KMIs, key match incidents. This blue card is a bit of an evolution for it. So those that are more traditionalists, which is the majority of people, are very upset by the concept of introducing a new element into the game. But as the game becomes more modern, I used to say modern football, now football 2.0. I'm pretty sure we're now at football 3.0 with semi-automated offside technology and now the introduction of blue cards. There's going to be many who don't like it because they feel like it goes against the traditional nature of it. I think, and going back to Aaron's point, right, the success of the blue card, once we start seeing elimination of the disruption of these kinds of fouls, as well as, the dissent to the game, and then all of a sudden we look and we focus back on the actual game that's being played, right? And the teams that are, predominantly affected by these are those that have very good tactical skills and ability to play in those type of triangle formations. When we talk about those holding offenses, right, it now allows the game to breathe better. So hopefully there's that balance between those who hate it because it's a new introduction versus those who finally get the game given back to themselves and are no longer seeing those types of quote unquote professional fouls that are essentially always given.
All right, Christina, I've got one last question for you. First of all, thank you so much for your patience in explaining all of this.
No problem.
With this, do you personally like the rule, the way that it's been instituted, and do you think that it will be adopted by football as a whole? Do you think this will be the norm?
I think it has a high chance of success and to continue to transition on. Our introduction into, or IFAB, taking a look and seeing the statistics and the numbers, and the IFAB general meeting, this came out a couple of days ago of the introduction of this. The chances of this actually being delivered is very high once it gets to the senior level. Right now, what they're getting is essentially more of a diplomatic approach instead of just implementing a new change to the laws. They always trial it, then they put it into the senior game. And unless there's something very, very jarring from it, do they kind of pull back from moving forward in that direction. But I do believe that because we have been trying to, we meaning the referee community, because the IFAB laws of the game and the application have been over years trying to implement, the reduction of these cynical kinds of fouls, right? The holding fouls, the professional foul, the tactical foul, as people like to coin it. And we have not been successful at eliminating the tactical foul because the crime didn't meet the punishment. And so therefore people continue to meet that, to do the crime essentially of saying, I'm willing to take a yellow card. That I think is going to really show and reflect on it. And it's going to probably reinforce it at the senior level. So get ready. This is your new VAR.
I was going to say, Christina, we, like I said, very apprehensive at the start of the show, but I think you've done an excellent job explaining it. And I do see the benefits both from your perspective and as well for those trying to not disrupt the flow of the game and just kind of play the game without those fouls that you were talking about. So thank you so much for stopping by and taking the time to really explain this and break it down for everyone. We really appreciate it.